We have got some excellent stuff to talk about on the webinar today. I am excuse me, I don't know what's wrong with my voice, but I'm happy to be here with you guys. I think it's a wonderful way to spend a Monday afternoon looking at all the potential opportunities where we can make some of that cash. So I'm a huge fan of it. And we're also sitting here talking about how much we dislike collectively time zone changes, because so many of you guys in the trading group and now in the webinar and so on, it takes I think the last ones to change are like Australia and New Zealand, and that's in like a month. So pretty much every week for the next 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 weeks, somebody changes. Some 1 or 2 or 3 countries change every weekend for the next couple of weeks, and we all just kind of trickle over, and it's confusing and ridiculous, and what do you do? Richard, I like your idea. Make lots of money trading and spend winters in Argentina. That sounds kind of fantastic. I don't hate that at all. So that's great. Well, welcome, guys. Wonderful to have you all in this webinar today. As a little intro for anybody that's on for the first time, I'm Jared Johnson. This is Day Traders FX. And what else do I have to say? I went surfing this morning and almost got attacked by a flock of dolphins, or a herd. What do they call them? A school? A group of dolphins? I don't know. Actually, dolphins are supposed to keep you away from sharks, right? So, a pod. Man, I was so off. Should have thought of that. But it was pretty amazing. And glad to have you all with us at Day Traders FX for the Monday webinar. This is the webinar where I talk about some of the medium and longer term setups that I think are coming this week. Hopefully some of them will give us some big, huge profit targets. Some of them are smaller profit targets, but overall we're still looking for at least 100 pips and above. And I don't even like taking 100 pip trades if I can avoid it, but 200 pips is ideal and beyond. But again, we will take 100 pip trades from time to time. We're okay with that. Remember, what I talk about today will kind of give you the overall outlook of what I'm watching this week, but this will get updated every single day, and some of these things will be completely different by the end of the week. And so that's a good reason why you should think about getting a free trial to our trading group. You can go to daytradersfx.com and just click on the Start Now 5-day free trial green button, and that'll give you 5 days of freeness with our group, and you can see through the entire week how we do everything that we do. So I'd love to have you with us and join us. You guys can probably hear my little Stella girl in the background. She's unhappy about something. I think probably nap time. I don't know. But anyway, here is the calendar for this week. These are news announcements that we're watching for this coming week. We had a heavy schedule last week. There was crazy important news about every 3 hours, it felt like, the entire week. It's a little calmer this week. We don't have anything too crazy. BOJ press conference. I mean, I don't know what else they're going to say, but that's not a big event in my mind anymore. They're just kind of pushing things along. Tuesday will be pretty relaxed, although we do have the JOLTS job opening report, which is, again, I just don't feel like that's super familiar to me. I've seen it the last couple of months, and then I just don't remember it any before that. But that's a government, the labor turnover summary. So it's just job related. That'll be Tuesday morning. That might give us a little bit of a push. Wednesday morning will be quiet, but then afternoon we have New Zealand interest rate announcements, and we are expecting a hike in interest rates in New Zealand from 2.5 to 2.75%. So that's always good. They could bump it up a full 0.5%. They could leave it at 2.5. So this could be a big event. We haven't seen a lot of interest rate change expectations over the last semi-long while, so that's definitely worth keeping an eye on. And then as we get later in the day on Wednesday, we've got employment numbers for Australia, always a big mover, worth keeping an eye on. And then going into Thursday, some good U.S. Retail sales numbers, some good news there. And then Friday, we have some more U.S. news. So that all looks good to me, and I think that's all worth keeping an eye on. Australian NAB business. Some of that stuff, there's always a lot of those announcements, Steve, and those don't always make the calendar radar because they're not, super traditionally big movers. So keep an eye on it, see what happens, but I wouldn't expect too much out of that on the Aussie pairs. Okay. One thing to look at quickly on the euro dollar, I'm not super excited about trading the euro dollar, and so I'm not trading the euro dollar, but everybody seems pretty gung-ho about the euro dollar is heading higher. Central bank stuff, blah, 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 euro's heading higher. You guys will see across the board that there's a pretty decent argument on euro dollar, pound dollar, Aussie dollar, dollar CAD, and that's about as far as I've gotten on the dollar pairs. And yeah, just those pairs mostly. There's a decent argument and a decent setup for movements towards dollar weakness, and it's something to think about. I'm trying to get bullish on the U.S. dollar, but I'm having a hard time. And as I look at all these pairs, I see a lot of dollar weakness. Potential setups, and they're all pretty close, and we should know fairly soon if we are going to see some dollar weakness. So euro dollar, again, I'm not super trading the euro dollar, but I'm just kind of watching this right here. We almost have a little channel. We do have a little channel. It's not an amazing one, but it's decent. It's worth keeping an eye on, this euro dollar. That could kind of potentially be a bull flag. So as I look at this, we have this nice strong run up and then this consolidation sideways. So I think a break of this trend line is interesting enough to start getting long euro dollar with stops below this low point right here. We're only 25 pips away from it right now, and by the time it breaks out, it might be 40 pips away, give or take, but stops below this guy right here, which is approximately 138.50. So if we break that descending trend line, that should be a little bit of a bullish flag continuation, and I think it's worth keeping an eye on. Now, here's where the big kibosh happens on the euro dollar that makes me a little bit uncomfortable, and that is this guy right here. If we look at a monthly chart, we have a huge downward moving channel on this monthly chart. It's huge. It's gigantic. And we are right at the top of that channel. Right there, that top there is about 13900, right in that area, which is right about where we are. And I just have to assume that that's going to produce a bit of a bounce. In fact, it would make a lot of sense that it would produce a bit of a bounce. And so I'm looking at that, and it almost looks like we have a nice little rising wedge on the euro dollar. So again, to kind of go back to my earlier statement here, let me qualify that just a little tiny bit. Here's our rising wedge euro dollar. So that all looks pretty good. Nice rising wedge there, and it's coming potentially off the top of that and the top of this big channel from the monthly chart. So the reason I think there's a bullish setup is just because of simply this bullish flag right here. It's just a bull flag. It's pretty simple, pretty cut and dry. If it breaks above that, we'll probably see a bit of a move up, but we really are coming into quite a bit of resistance. You can see the daily chart left a pretty long wick up here, so it looks like we're going to have a bit of a struggle below 140, but I'm not confident enough in this kind of a movement to start shorting the euro dollar just yet. But I will keep an eye on all of this stuff. You can see all these highs, this high back here, which was, what's that high? 138.93. So basically all this 13900 stuff is pretty significant. And if the euro holds below that, we might have a good argument for shorting this pair. But for the moment, it's a bull flag. Let's trade the break and see if there's some movement there. Once again, by let's, I mean you guys, if you're interested. I'm probably not going to be doing anything long euro dollar. I'll be looking potentially for some shorts. Okay, pound dollar. This is an interesting one. This is one that we have talked about over and over and over and over again. And I even mentioned before the weekend that I was just probably going to throw a short on at the open of the market Sunday. And so the market opened Sunday, and it was just crawling around, and it was spiking up here a little bit, and I thought, I'm just going to check back tomorrow. I bet it'll be closer to those highs, and it'll give me a better chance to short against these highs up here. As I was looking at this Sunday night, that's what I was thinking. I thought, nice bearish engulfing candle. This will give us a nice opportunity to short closer to 160.800. And then it just broke that trend line and headed straight down. Now, The pound dollar is so fantastically interesting. If anybody thinks, holy crap, we missed our move because this thing broke out and ran down about 100 pips from below the trend line. It ran about 100 pips. Nice little movement there. And if anyone's thinking we missed the boat, let me just remind you a couple of important pieces of information. Number one, if the pound dollar is ready to just start heading back down, which it might still be wanting to do, then we still have, from current market price, our first missed weekly pivot is approximately just shy of 300 pips away. The 200 moving average is about 450 pips away. The next weekly pivot's 600 pips away, and the next weekly pivot's 800 pips away. So those are all awesome, fantastic, excellent things that give us plenty of opportunity to continue shorting this. Now, here's what I'm looking for in the pound dollar. Here's the two things that I feel like I need to see to be trading one direction or another. Number one, I would like to break this low of the flag. I think if we break the low, which is held very nicely, of this bullish flag, because remember, we do have a daily bullish flag right here, strong move up and then consolidation. If we break below 165.80, then I'm short. I'll short the pound dollar at the break of that low, and I'll target at least 163.50. So there's at least a couple hundred pips to start off and then some. So that's option number one. But what I think has a very high likelihood of happening is we might just end up with some sort of move lower, maybe a little kind of bear flag kind of move with this kind of stuff right here, and then have this come down and test this 16600, maybe a little bit below 16600, and bounce and continue up from there. This is still technically a bull flag, and so that means that we're still expecting some amount of move higher on this bull flag. And so we have the 200 moving average, we have the low of the last couple of weeks, we have a couple of pivot points in here, we have a lot of support that leads me to believe that this could end up bouncing and giving us an opportunity, a better opportunity to potentially get long right around this area, target the high of this channel and even the break of that channel, which would take me to my ideal celestial trade of shorting closer to 16900. And so that's what I'm looking for. That's what I really want to see. So here are our little short-term opportunities here. We have a nice little bear flag. Excuse me, that's kind of just bouncing around and not doing a whole lot. So if this bear flag is going to continue to hold, I'm going to update this level, but I have a feeling that this red candle is probably going to reverse over the next hour or two. So let's just assume that's kind of our low. Then I'll look at this and I'll take this trade happily. I'll take a little run here just in case this thing is ready to break. So I'd be looking to probably short this somewhere at or just below 166.30 area. You know, just a couple of pips away from where it is, 166.30, and just keep some tight stops and see if we can get a run down into that 16600, 165.80 area. And what I'm interested in is getting an early jump in case this thing's ready to break and head down. So I'll trade that bear flag down to all of that support and just lock in profit. I probably won't be super interested in taking 25 or 30 pips profit, although I don't discourage it. But what I would be looking more to do is get down there, lock in some profit, and see if this is going to mash through 165.80. And if it does, then we're already, a little bit in profit, and it's great and it's wonderful. Otherwise, I'm going to be looking for opportunities for that to bounce and break. See if this is going to bounce and break, or excuse me, just bounce instead of break off of this 165.80 and give us a run up there. So that's a kind of a lot of running around, but hopefully that makes sense. Trade the bear flag down to that big support, lock in profit, and see if it's going to break. If it doesn't, let it kick you out at some profit, and look to get long against 165.80. Watching for this big bull flag to play out, which I still think it could do. So that's where I see some dollar weakness possibly on the pound dollar. Aussie dollar is giving us kind of the same thing. Now here's what the Aussie dollar did, which was kind of interesting. It broke the neckline, it gave a nice little open above the neckline, and then that first open above the neckline actually closed below the neckline. So So the Aussie dollar is still kind of developing a strong argument on this head and shoulders pattern. So again, shoulder right there, and we've got a nice little head right here, and another shoulder right there. So nice little head and shoulders pattern, and this was our neckline. Everything was looking really great right here, and then it just gave us a little spike up and came back down. We're not doing anything on the Aussie dollar just yet, but we are looking for the multiple weekly pivots that we have up here. We have all kinds of missed weekly pivots, at least 3 of them, and a couple of dailies and monthlies as well. So anytime we have 2 or more missed weekly pivots on one side or the other with a moving average that hasn't been tested in a while, that's what I'm looking to trade towards. So I'm just kind of sitting on the sidelines a little bit with the Aussie dollar for the moment because there's not a clear short-term entry, but there is an inverted head and shoulders pattern on the daily chart that I'm looking to try to get into at some point this week. And this is one of the pairs that will have to be updated tomorrow and the next day and the next day as things develop on Aussie pairs. Okay, so as I said, yen pairs, I'm not looking at too much on the yen pairs. I know a couple of people are kind of watching this Aussie yen because there was a big long wick on this daily candle. Be careful with the Aussie yen. It looks like it's violent and vicious right now still. We have a nice little pin bar there on the 4-hour chart, but my advice would be to be super careful with the yen pairs. They're just kind of crazy, so I'm not doing too much with them right this moment. Okay, quick look at gold. Just one little quick thing on gold. Anybody trading gold, we have a rising wedge. We have a 200 moving average that has not been touched in a good little while, last several weeks on the 4-hour chart. And we have just basically the same pattern on the daily chart here, but we have all these missed weekly pivots down here below. So I'm not super gung-ho on gold right this moment, but I do see this rising wedge, and it does make me believe that there could be a bit of a sell-off happening sooner than later. So as this starts to get back below, I talked about this already, and then it made this nice double top here, and we're right back to the rising wedge area. If anyone's in gold, I would be interested in one of 2 things: shorting against current highs, which puts you at about 150 pips on the stop loss side of things, or trading the break of probably 1328, right around there. Just kind of these recent guys here. So if anyone's trading gold, keep an eye on that 1328, and a break and a move down into about 1300 can and should be pretty good on gold. So anybody trading gold, just keep an eye on that. That's looking good. Okay, dollar CAD. Again, I'm looking possibly for a little bit of dollar weakness. The Canadian seems to be a little weak. The Canadian dollar is just kind of heading higher, or excuse me, the dollar CAD pair is heading higher towards Canadian weakness. But I still think that we might get a nice little push back to some of these lower levels on the dollar CAD. We're pretty well into a 200 moving average that hasn't been touched in a little while, about 120 bars, give or take, and we've got 3 missed weekly pivots down below. Remember, 2 or more is significant. And so this thing kind of broke out and came right back up in. But what I kind of like is potentially shorting some of this stuff against these highs. We're only 120 pips off the, actually about 110 pips off the high right now that we can see over the last couple of months. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. I'm not doing anything just yet, but I'm going to be watching to see if there's like a double top or some nice price rejection around this 11200 area here. So over the next 70, 80 pips, I'm going to keep a real close eye on all this stuff to see if that's rejected off that level, and I'll probably be looking to do like a double top trade and get short dollar CAD towards like 108.20, give or take. So that's what I'm looking for on the dollar CAD. If anyone's trading that pair, that's what I'm keeping an eye on. Overall, getting short that pair against 11200, 112.25, right in that general area. Aussie, the Euro Aussie. This is definitely an interesting one. The Euro Aussie is a little bit wild and crazy looking, but one thing that we had was this nice rising wedge and we broke out of this guy. But the thing that I love about this is we get these kinds of things where we'll break out of a wedge, a channel, whatever, and it pulls right back to those channels, and it will test. We've talked about this 100 times. It'll test that channel and then kind of continue back down. And the Euro Aussie, it looks like it might be doing that, like it's testing that channel to continue back down. So I'm going to watch this, and I think there could very likely be an opportunity to short Euro Aussie quite soon. You can see all the things we have on the daily chart here. Head and shoulders pattern, number 1. Rising wedge, which broke out, number 2. Shorter term rising wedge on the right shoulder that broke out, and it's pulling back and it's staying outside of that rising wedge. So I like that a lot, and you know, it leaves us plenty of huge targets down below. So we have all these missed pivots down here on Euro Aussie, and if we even look back a little bit further, let's see if we can get a little bit of a bigger look there. If we do, let's say 1,000 days back, you can see that we have a gob of missed weekly pivots down here, like a crazy amount, and we have a huge head and shoulders pattern on the daily chart. So it's just a matter of time before this thing completes its full reversal pattern and gives us a huge run. So what we can start looking at is even just shorting it against current highs right here. And I am seriously considering some of these movements. These highs are not far away. If it breaks these highs, I'm afraid it's going to be headed back into that rising wedge, and so we wouldn't want to be in it. So it gives us kind of an interesting opportunity for like a 30 or 40 pip stop, and then shorting, down towards all these big targets. Because remember, this head and shoulders pattern is completing, and it's looking pretty excellent. Like, this is a really, really good looking head and shoulders pattern on this daily chart. So that little breakout and retest on this 1 hour chart is pretty textbook, and I like to see that, and I think this is going to give us part of that big run coming down. So we're going to be looking at that, and again, possible opportunities to short against this high, which is basically about 154.00. So liking that on excuse me, on Euro Aussie, that's looking excellent. Pound Aussie is giving us a very similar setup. We've got a big head and shoulders pattern right here, huge head and shoulders pattern. We have a rising trend line for our neckline right here, which is pretty fantastic. Again, we have more targets down here than I can count. 169, 175, 178, all these big targets for huge profit potential on this Pound Aussie. So I'm going to be watching this. I like shorting against this weekly high, and that's what I'm going to be looking for. So this one will probably place a pending order. Excuse me, guys. I don't know what's wrong with my voice. We'll probably place a pending order against about 180. It's about 185.50. So that's a little ways away now. It's not crazy far away, just a little bit, a little over 100 pips away. So I'm going to be looking to place a pending order against that and target some of this break and some of this move down into these bigger, more interesting levels. So our first one that we'll be hitting will be, the neckline, which will probably put us at about 182.50 area, and then it just goes from there. If we break that, then we have So if we get in just a little bit higher, which is what I'm targeting, our first target is 600 pips. Next target is almost 800 pips. Next target is almost 1,000 pips. Next one is almost 1,500 pips. So Pound Aussie is high on the list of pairs to watch right now. So I like short Pound Aussie. I like short Euro Aussie. And Euro dollar and Aussie dollar are kind of wait and sees a little bit. And Pound dollar, we need to, we have those two great scenarios we're going to be trading, which I love. And last but not least, and yeah, Rob, I'll have a look at that Euro Yen. So on the CAD Swiss franc, this is fantastic looking. We have this rising wedge this falling wedge that's held pretty nicely. We have both a 4-hour and a daily chart that have not touched the 200 moving average and well beyond what we expect. So we're like there's our okay. So last time we touched on CAD Swiss franc was 275 bars earlier on the 4-hour chart, and the last time on the daily chart was also about 208. So this one is well oversold. And so what we want to do on these trades is get in as close to major swing points as possible, and we're currently making some new pretty medium-term lows. And so I'm going to be looking at an opportunity to potentially enter this CAD Swiss franc against this current daily hammer and against the bottom of this falling wedge. This is a fairly supported area right here, and I think we have a good opportunity to start looking at buying opportunities on this dip here. Now, we do have to keep in mind that there is kind of some bear flag potential, so I'm going to watch that and see if that plays out. But overall, I think that this CAD Swiss franc is ready for a semi-big, semi-interesting buy scenario. So that's a big one that's coming. I'm definitely looking to get long CAD Swiss franc this week, absolutely. So at the very least, we'll probably get short pound Aussie and long CAD Swiss franc sometime this week, and we'll see how some of these others play out. They could give us something sooner than later. I think we'll get a pound dollar entry fairly quickly as well. So those are some of the ones I'm looking at. Rob, to address your Euro Yen question, I'm not trading too much on the yen pairs lately, but there is the potential of the bullish flag on the euro yen. None of the other yen pairs really have much of a flag, but the euro yen seems to have a pretty decent kind of bull flag pattern right here. You can see that, and it's kind of just, I guess we could take it down to that area. So a break out of that bull flag could could finish this movement off right here. So I would keep an eye on being long. I don't know if I'd be short euro yen, but I'd definitely consider being long and targeting the break of that bullish flag type situation. So above that trend line should give a nice little continuation higher. So yeah, euro yen looks good for that one. We don't have anything too crazy on the 200 moving average except for on the daily chart. The 1 hour is not too exciting and the 4 hour is not too crazy, but the daily 200 moving average is looking pretty overspent, and hopefully will start giving a little bit of a pullback at some point. So that's what I'm looking for. Remember, all of this stuff is going to be updated and re-updated every single day on our wrap-up sessions. So if you would like to get a trial to the group and get more of these updates, we do them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of every week. You can absolutely get a free trial to the group right around here-ish. So that's the link that'll get you there. But I will send out this recording. It'll be recorded and posted for all to view, and I'm going to send out a couple of trade reminders on some of the things we talked about to everyone as well. But overall, these are the entries that I will be stalking and watching for this week. So we've got some good stuff to work with. Any questions, comments, let me know. Steve, the weekly rising trend on Euro Aussie. I think that to just kind of go back to that one real quick, I think that the Euro Aussie is running into some very significant resistance, which is why I'm pretty excited about shorting this thing and making a nice little run there. It's had a pretty significant move down, and I think it might be ready to at least double bottom or thereabouts. And start taking care of some of those lower levels. So that's why I think that this Euro Aussie is a good candidate for some nice shorts. But yeah, I think it looks great. Okay, guys, I'm going to get this recording posted for everyone, and I'll answer any questions you guys might have.